remember actually a very old phrase which my parents told me once. You know, money can't buy everything. Well, in this debate, it certainly is true. Money can't buy peace, the security, and the stability which a country is used to get. Now let me, I'll just move on to my remarks first. Okay, so now firstly they say about how they're actually going to ensure that these highly trained individuals from the PMC, they're actually going to be screened to make sure that they are fit for combat in such operations. Now we see that firstly, what are the screening factors? How are you going to screen? What are the things which you are going to look out for, and what are the proper procedures which you are going to go through? Now we also see that even if you do engage in screening, I tell you what, why don't you do one thing? The money which you as a government pay to these NPCs, why not you take that money and pay to the proper legitimate troops which are part of the regular army of a country, and actually pay these UN troops to actually perform better. Hence we see that under their paradigm, what's going to happen? That they're simply going to waste time screening, whereas they can, thank you sir, whereas they can actually use UN troops in a more effective fashion. Now, we also say is that, now they also mention about how they're going to ensure that these individuals don't commit any crimes. But we have to ask them what actually guarantees and what actually constitutes their loyalty towards a certain cause. Now, these individuals, even like it or not, they are into mercenaries. They might be highly trained, but the whole purpose is they're highly trained, they're highly paid, so as to kill an individual. Now we see that, hence, when it comes to the pay, they're not going to give a damn whom they kill. Why? Because they get the money in the end. We also mentioned about how they also actually came up and falsely told us about how in Singapore, for example, where if you are under a commanding officer, they will actually force you to go for missions where even if you don't want to go, you have to go. Well, that's not true, ladies and gentlemen, because as far as the facts are concerned, regulars of the Singapore Army are actually volunteers to actually go for such missions. That's why we hear of volunteers. So thank you, ma'am. And sir, you see that volunteers actually go for missions in Afghanistan, and they actually talk about how Singapore is conscripted army, and these conscripts are actually going to go to fight in another war. We see that NS men don't really go to foreign missions, and rather the regular actually go for this war. Okay, so then they also mention about how these PMCs, they will be afraid to actually have their contracts terminated by these governments, by the government, or like for example the United Nations, if they actually commit any faults, errors. Now we see that these PMCs, what are they driven by? Profits. They are driven by money. And even if their contracts get terminated, they are not going to care. Why is it so? Because if I can actually sign a contract with the UN for money, I can sign a contract with Bashar al-Assad to work in his country to actually kill people. Right? So they also mention about how these PMCs aren't actually going to work for these dubious corporations. Hold on a second, sir. Now, hold on a minute, sir. Now we see that what exactly defines dubious. They have yet to answer that, and we hope that second speaker actually comes up and answers this question. We also mentioned about how they are obliged to protect civilians, and however we see that these mercenaries, they are mercenaries for a reason. They are obliged to get their salary. They're not obliged to actually take care of an individual, unless it actually concerns his money. What do you have to say to that, sir?
So the reason why these members of PMCs will never work for dubious governments, like what I've already mentioned in my speech, is because they have a mandate to uphold a certain reputation. Not
okay, sit down, sir. Please sit down, sir. I requested you to sit down. Please listen. Anyway, as I was saying, these PMCs, they are profit-driven, and I just asked you to define dubious. You have yet to do so, even though you threw me a POI. Okay, but we see that what are these PMCs? PMCs are known for their efficiency, not for their fairness. So if a dictator wants a PMC which is highly efficient, which can highly kill, like for example Bashar al-Assad, hey, if I'm Bashar al-Assad, and if I know a PMC which is highly trained to kill individuals, I'm going to hire that. So we see that on the point of dubiousness simply crashes and burns. It's true. Okay, our counter policy, what we want to say, that rather each nation actually, which intends to set a force of troops to these countries, actually set up a fund so they can actually pay for these soldiers. And as I said before, why don't we actually fund these troops which are from other states instead of actually paying these PMCs as which they have to find? So moving on to my split, I as first I'll be talking to you how mercenaries will abuse their right to kill, as well as on the accountability and who is at fault exactly. Now, Phoebe will be talking to you on no vested interest present and on how they cannot be trusted. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we see that individuals or mercenaries, basically whatever, even if they are employees of PMC, they care for money, they work for money, which is why they are mercenaries. And hence, we see that they are paid to kill. Hence, as an individual, he or she realizes that, hey, if I am paid to kill individuals, if I'm paid to actually kill terrorists, then why not I actually do that? And in addition, if I'm actually able to be paid to actually kill other people, then why not I do that? So we see that these individuals, since these mercenaries are driven by money, we see that what they would actually be wanting to do is that not only they would kill terrorists, but they actually go around looting and committing other mass atrocities. Now, and which eventually result in accountability, which I'll be explaining in my second. So, as I was, we see that simply because of the fact that they are not loyal, which should be talking about later, we also see that they are not loyal, and as a result, they don't care. They have the power to kill. They can kill. Just like how power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And even though we compliment them as complementary forces of the whole UN infantry contingent, they really have absolute power. They have firearms, they answer to no one. So what they're going to do? They're going to kill, they're going to loot.
So he's trying to challenge it, which he failed. That's why I said he has something against logic.
Why not? So now moving on to my second point. Who is at fault? So now, ladies and gentlemen, we see, just hold on a sec, we see that these mercenaries won't be accountable. Why is it so? Because they are instructed to kill by their PMCs. Hence, we also see that they are not assigned under any legitimate political banner, and hence they are paid to kill.
So the UN does not have any incentive to pay these, to pay the UN infantry. What do you say about that?
No, the thing is that UN actually does pay its infantrymen, and what we're trying to say is that why not you actually use that money, whatever UN has, to actually pay these soldiers for the simple reason that they have loyalty towards UN, they are citizens of a country, which means that they uphold the reputation of the country which they represent under the UN banner, as compared to such individuals, such PMCs, who many times even are refugees who are stateless, so they don't have any absolute incentive. Now, as I was saying, that since they are not under any proper legitimate political banner, they are just simply paid to kill, and will only be assigned, and hence are only assigned amount of money which they get based on the number of kills. And hence we see that, as I've said before, these individuals, they won't be held accountable for what they're doing, so they can actually go on an all-out rampage, to actually kill individuals, to go on a looting spree, not only to kill terrorists, but to kill innocent civilians, because they'll be thinking, hey, if no one's watching me, I can do whatever I want. So what's going to happen is that because of this, there's going to be a clash of accountability where there's going to be finger pointing, and as a result, further UN operations, which could have been actually put to better use, is not going to happen. Now, why is it so? Because these countries around the world, they see that, hey, if the United Nations is actually employing someone else, and actually what's going to happen, what happens is that actually there's further ravaging occurring in this country. Even if I need peace, I'm not going to ask the UN for help, because what's going to happen? My country is going to be ravaged as well, and I simply don't want that. So as a result, what we see, that accountability of the United Nations actually also gets tarnished. And as a result, because the United Nations is an organization which actually promotes peace, one of the biggest organizations which actually promotes peace, when people don't want it, what's going to be happening, then there's going to be further chaos. So ladies and gentlemen, if you believe in the best of an individual, be it from whatever country he's from, and if you believe that global peace takes importance over money, then please, you have to walk away.